Hey friends, welcome to That's a Ray podcast. I'm your host, Ray, and for today's episode, we have another listener that is asking for advice about workplace bully. And I'm just going to share some encouraging words, give a little bit of advice. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to read in what she wrote. I'm just going to summarize it a little bit, but she had wrote in, I need advice. How does one deal with workplace bully? In my current job, I'm bullied by a woman twice my age, and she makes my life a living hell. She went from liking me to hating me for no reason in a few short months. She makes work terrible, and I feel so uncomfortable every time we work together. She's incredibly rude, and I'm so miserable. What should I do? So first off, I want to say thank you for sharing your story and asking for advice on this. I'm so sorry that you are dealing with this. You should just go to work and go home. You shouldn't be worried about going to work and dealing with someone who's making you feel uncomfortable, who's bullying you and making work miserable and terrible. So I'm so sorry for that. Hopefully I can encourage you and give you some advice to help you navigate through this and kind of ease your mind on dealing with this workplace bully. This is honestly something I feel like is so overlooked in your 20s because, a lot of times 20-year-olds might not talk about being bullied in the workplace, or even if they do, most people would just say, oh, just go to HR or just talk to someone higher up, and that's it. They don't really talk about the emotional part of it, and how to deal with that part and how to just navigate through it without just always going to HR. And sometimes it's uncomfortable going to HR. You might think that you're making the situation worse by going to HR, so you kind of want to have alternative options on how to deal with the situations. This is such an important conversation to have because it's already a lot when you are navigating your career or your job. So when you add a workplace bully on top of that, it just makes the situation a lot harder. It makes work a lot harder, and you're just so overwhelmed. You're emotionally drained, you're emotionally exhausted from dealing with work and a workplace bully. So both of those combined can just be too much for one person to handle. So I'm hoping that this conversation can be helpful for you and for anyone else who is listening that is in a similar situation or who knows somebody who is in a similar situation and can be able to help them. So I'm just going to give you some encouraging words and a few things that you can try to navigate dealing with this workplace bully. So the first one is, don't automatically assume it's your fault. I know when you're dealing with someone who was once your friend, who, was very nice to you, and they go from that to hating you and just being very nasty towards you, it can feel like you may have did something wrong. And you start to blame yourself. You start to think of everything that happened when you talk to this person and just trying to figure out where is this coming from. But if you know that you did nothing to this person, that they just out of nowhere just started hating you, don't assume that it's your fault and don't continue to think that it's your fault. Sometimes people are dealing with a lot of stuff, whether that's insecurities, personal issues, problems, and it has nothing to do with you, but they take it out on you. And that's not to excuse their behavior, but it is something to think about just going forward and whenever this happens. And it's also a reminder to let you know that how someone else treats you is not a reflection of you. You just have to let her deal with what she's dealing with in hopes that she gets through that and changes her mindset, changes her attitude, and hopefully come to a realization that she is treating you in such a negative, terrible way, and she can come to you with an apology and maybe an explanation. So the second one is to stay true to you and keep it professional. So don't try to retaliate if she says something bad about you, you say something bad back. Sometimes people do things to get a reaction out of you and try to get you out of character. And if you are not the type of person to gossip, to retaliate, to go tit for tat, don't engage with that person. For some reason, people get a kick out of reactions like that. And especially if they know you are a person who is not like that. If you are a sweet person, a caring person, someone who's very positive and bubbly, they will try to target you to get you out of that character. So you just have to not interact and engage. Just keep the conversations short, respectful, and that's it. Because at the end of the day, you are just there to work, to get your money. So you do not want anything negative coming back to you that will ruin your character, ruin your reputation, cause any conflict at work. We don't want that at all, and we are not going to let someone mess that up for you. And your peace is worth protecting. Sometimes when you engage and you interact with a negative person, it affects you so much. It takes so much to do that. It takes more energy to engage in a negative way than to just walk away. So protect your energy, protect your peace. And the next thing is document everything. In a situation like this, documenting every conversation, the days that it happened, what was said, what was done is so important, especially if you eventually talk to a higher up or talk to somebody. You will have receipts and everything is there for them to look at. It can be hard to kind of keep and document if it's in person interaction. So if it's like you guys talking to each other. So if you know that there's somebody that was around, maybe listening or anything like that, that's good to know. If it was through email, through text message, keep those messages so you have it. You can always go back to. And then the next one is to talk to HR or higher up if needed. If you've done what you believe everything that you could, and the next step is talking to management, your supervisor or HR, I think that is an important step to do to try to help you get through this and you're not alone. Because if someone is affecting you mentally, physically, and emotionally, as well as affecting your ability to work, your ability to do what you need to do, then it is okay to ask for support. And like you had mentioned that she is making work miserable and she's making you feel terrible, then I think talking to someone is necessary because we don't want it to get to the point where you're ready to quit because of her, or you're just constantly stressed, overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and exhausted from work and from this situation. And we don't want to bring that frustration home. You know, when you leave work, you should leave work at work. And all that negativity should not be carried on to you from work to home. Your job is part of your life, but you don't want your job to consume your life. So you don't want the situation to be so bad at work that it is consuming your life outside of work and that it is stealing your peace. You should have peace at work, at home. So we don't want this situation to go so far that it steals all of that away from you and it steals the joy that you may have for work and what you do. So the fifth one is to set boundaries. So be polite but firm. Stand your ground, limit any unnecessary conversations, and keep the communication only work related. This can work really well if you aren't comfortable talking to her about anything, but you want it to be known that what she's doing is not okay. It's okay to not say anything at all. Not every situation requires confrontation. Sometimes the best approach is just maintaining professionalism, focusing on your work, and protecting your peace. The last one is to protect your peace. Yes, work is important, but your mental health matters too. It matters way more. You know, you can't be able to work and do what you need to do if your mental health is not healthy and it's not in the right place. When someone is difficult at work, it's so easy to let that consume your mind, to consume every thought, because you start thinking of what you did wrong, where did it go wrong? You start overthinking every conversation. You start replaying every conversation that was had. You overanalyze every interaction. Just all these different things is clouding your mind, and you just start kind of reconsidering every single thing. And this can be so overwhelming on you mentally and physically. And you'll start dreading going to work. You will not want to go to work and you will dread seeing that person. And it will make work so awkward and uncomfortable. And it already is for you right now. The best thing that you have to do is to protect your peace and protect your mental health. You know, to protect your peace, you have to refuse to let someone else's behavior affect your mood, affect your day, affect your emotions and your confidence. And when you're protecting your peace, you're not pretending that everything is okay. You're not, avoiding the situation or acting like this isn't happening, but you are acknowledging the situation, but you're not letting the situation consume you. So there are a few ways that you can protect your peace. So you can spend time with people who love you and support you, being around people who are just uplifting, encouraging, and that are there to support you. Sometimes it is hard to find peace, but when you have people around you who give you a little bit of peace, it can make things so much better. And another thing that you can do is do things that bring you joy. So whatever it is that eases your mind, that calms you, that brings you joy, you should do it. You do it every day and you do it after work. As soon as you leave work, if it's you listening to music, listen to music. If it's you going shopping, go shopping. If it's you being around people you love, do that. So just whatever it is, do the things that bring you joy. Another thing that you can do is to pray about the situation. So you can pray during work, before work, after work, whenever you are feeling anxious or you're getting any type of negative emotion where you just dealt with that person, pray about it. And you can also journal about it if you need to, if you're a person who loves journaling, or even if you never tried journaling before, just get a piece of paper, get a notebook, and just write down every single thought that you have. Write down what happened that day, the situation, what she said, what she did. Expressing your words out on paper helps a lot. It gets all of those negative thoughts and anything that you are thinking out of your mind and onto paper. Sometimes it's hard to kind of express yourself out loud in words, but it's easier to express yourself with words on paper. And then the last one is to talk to someone you trust. It can be a friend, a family member, a trusted adult, just anybody that you trust. Talk to them about it. They can give you encouragement, they can ease your mind a little bit, and they can help you out in many different ways. So something to remember is that their behavior is their responsibility, but your peace is yours to protect. I also want to acknowledge before I end this episode that I don't know exactly how you are feeling, how the situation happened, or how the situation is going, but I can only imagine how difficult, how stressful, how emotionally exhausting it is, and how it can negatively affect you and your mood and your ability to want to work or want to go to work. So I want to remind you and anyone else who is listening that is going through something similar, that anyone who is saying something negative towards you, has a negative opinion, is bullying you or anything like that, whatever they're saying, whatever they're doing, is not a reflection of who you are and your worth. Even when you can't control someone else's actions, you can still choose how you respond and how you protect yourself. Let me just do a few takeaways. So the first one is don't take their behavior personally. Stay professional and true to yourself. The third one is to document what's happening. Keep record of everything. The fourth one is to speak up when necessary. So if you need to talk to a supervisor, a manager, or HR, do so. Don't suffer in silence. And the fifth one is to protect your peace. Don't let one person's negativity steal your confidence, your joy, your happiness, your self-worth, or ruin your experience at work. If you need to, talk to someone that you trust and that you love. So that is the end of today's episode. I hope that this helped you a little bit and I gave you some advice that you can use and try, and that it can help you navigate this workplace bully. Again, I'm so sorry that you are dealing with this. This is something that you should not deal with at work, and you shouldn't deal with it at all. If anyone who is listening is going through this or knows somebody that is going through this, I hope that it helps you as well. And if you are a listener listening in and you've experienced this, or you just have some encouraging words, any advice that you want to give, comment down below. I think that would be so helpful. And I will see you guys next Thursday.